Hi, Matt with Etrailer. If you have a 2025 Ram 1500 and you're looking at trying to carry a lot of different styles of bikes and you want something that's going to be pretty compact in your garage, then the Benton Shifts&Grins Bike Rack is going to be a great one for you. So let's check it out. What's pretty unique about this rack too is these last two cradles on the far end of our bike rack actually detach, and it is a really quick and easy process, but I'll show you that later. The neat thing about that though is the weight capacity of this isn't going to change at all. It's going to be 55 pounds whether you have those two add-ons on or not, which is going to be great if you want to accommodate those heavy e-bikes. Now that's really not going to affect your tilt away too much. Really, to show you what I mean, if I press this large button on the back of it, I like this because it's really easy to maneuver. You hear a click and you can see how far back this tilts. Now, if this is fully loaded, especially with those e-bikes, I recommend grabbing a friend because that's going to be a pretty heavy lift. Unfortunately, though, we won't be able to open up our tailgate completely. We'll be able to get it most of the way there. Now, this is going to be good if you want to throw some smaller items in the back of your bed, anything like groceries or any smaller bags. I wouldn't recommend putting anything heavy on the tailgate because that could either damage your tailgate or your rack. Once you're done with that, you can come back to the far end of this and lift up on your carrier. And what I like about this is two things. Is we're going to have this bracket at the bottom. That's for if you're on uneven ground and you make contact with that ground, it's not going to damage that button at the far end. And we're going to have a handle just to make this process a bit easier to lift it up and put it into that seated position. And if you want to take a closer look at this rack, I'm going to have to remove my bike. To do that, I'm going to come over here to this strap, press a button, that's going to release, and then it's off. I like how loose these are too because they're going to just flop behind here and won't get in my way when I'm trying to remove this bike. And it's going to be a very similar process on the front side. We're going to have an additional strap here too. And you'll notice we do have that rubber padding on top just so we don't scratch nothing up. And with this front ratcheting hook, I'm a big fan of this because you can actually remove this either on the frame of your bike or on your tire just to accommodate different styles. So you probably want to put it on your tire if you have any carbon frame, alternative frame, or bikes with a really nice paint job. Now if you have any kid bikes that are pretty small, I think putting it on the frame is going to do you a lot better. And I like to take off that hook completely because it just makes taking off your bike much simpler to do. You can even come in from an angle like this to do that. And with it off, I'd take it out for a ride. Before we hit the road again, we just need to make sure we grab and put everything up. So put your hook back on because you don't want to lose that. Secure that down. Also, make sure you put your straps up because you don't want that dangling around as you're driving. You got to do that with both cradles too. From here, we can get a few measurements. The first measurement I like to get is just going to be the overall distance we have. So this is a pretty large carrier and it's going to stick out quite a bit. So if I go from our back bumper to the back of the carrier, that's going to be about 56 inches. So that's a lot of room to put on the back of your Ram 1500, especially with a larger vehicle in general. Now we can save some space, but first let me get our ground clearance. The ground clearance is going to let us know what's going to be the closest part to the ground. That's going to be 28 inches. So that's really good. If anything, I'd think about if you have any heavier e-bikes because that is going to be a little bit of a lift. But like I said, we can save some space. And we're going to have a folding option with this. To do that, I'm going to press the same button I used earlier that tilted away. Only this time I'm going to push up. Sometimes you might have to wiggle a little bit, right? Put a little bit more force into it too, and push up this time. And this is going to be a lift, so not a bad idea to grab a friend to help you out. And this is going to save you a ton of space. And now this is only going to stick out by 20 inches. And in this position, it is going to block quite a bit. So the main things that will block are going to be your license plate and backup camera. It will block a little bit of your back window too, but your taillights won't be obstructed. If you want to save some space or you don't want it to block as much, you can actually remove that second attachment. And I like doing it in this position. It's just a little bit easier to access all these points. So we're going to have this pin and clip. Make sure you don't lose that. Just set it off somewhere to the side. And then we're going to loosen up this hand knob. You can get a good grip on it. There we go. And what's nice about this is you can't loosen it up too much. At some point it'll just stop and it won't come out all the way, but you'll be able to feel it release. Once that is released though, then we can just simply lift up on this. And if you want to, you can just store this in the bed of your truck. I just recommend grabbing a friend to help you out with that. But as you can see now, it's only going to be partially blocking your backup camera. It'll still pick it up, but your back window won't be obstructed at all at this point. But now we can take a closer look at how this is going to install. So, looking at right here on a shank, we're going to have this collar. This is an alignment collar, and this is going to help you out when you are taking this on and off your vehicle, because this is a heavier rack. So trying to lift this up and then align it with that pinhole is going to be difficult. But you can actually save this setting on here so you don't have to struggle finding that hole. And we're going to have this 2-inch shank that goes into your 2-inch hitch receiver. We'll have an anti-rattle bolt that goes through and connect to a nut on the other side to secure this down. What I like about that is that's going to prevent a lot of rattling from occurring inside your hitch, so you don't have to worry about any damage occurring or just making sure you have a better hold overall. In my opinion, I think this is a great rack, especially like I was saying earlier, if you want to carry a variety of different types of bikes, this is going to be able to carry most of them. Now, if you're looking at something a little bit more premium and easier to use, then I'd recommend checking out the Rocky Mounts Monorail Bike Rack. It's going to have a lot of blue buttons that are just a lot more intuitive, and it's going to be much lighter weight than this and a slightly higher weight capacity, and just in general easier to move. But this is going to be easier to store in your garage. Now, another great option for storing in your garage would be the Thule Epos Bike Rack. That one's going to have some wheels, the sides fold up, but that's going to be at a much more premium price range. So I think this is going to give you the best of both worlds, where you get a lot of different types of bikes at that low cost. But that was just a look at the Benton Shifts&Grins bike rack on the back of our 2025 Ram 1500. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.